The ATF already tried it once, and they nearly got away with it. Some 10 years ago, they went after a rifle round that had been legal for 3 decades, not because it had changed, but because they changed their interpretation. The scary part? That same playbook is still on the shelf, fully written, ready to go, and now it's handgun ammo that's in the crosshairs. What if the next target isn't a steel core surplus round, but the defensive loads in your carry gun? In this video, we'll talk about 3 incredibly popular self-defense rounds: Gold Dot, Hydra-Shok, and Hornady Critical Defense, and why they could be the next to fall under the ATF's armor-piercing ban. We're going to break down the legal framework the agency already uses to classify ammunition, how it's been used in past bans, and why these 3 defensive loads may quietly check all the boxes. You'll learn how the bonded jackets, center posts, and polymer tips that make these rounds so effective could also make them politically vulnerable, especially in a future push to eliminate non-sporting ammo. We'll look at the 7N6 ruling out of Seattle, the original sporting purpose exemption criteria, and how the framework's vague language opens the door for massive reinterpretation. This isn't fear-mongering. This is a real warning to every concealed carrier, hunter, and homeowner who relies on modern ammo for protection. If you thought the ATF was done after braces and triggers, you haven't seen what they're gearing up for next. Stay sharp, stay stocked, and stick around. This one's going to hit close to home. Speer's bonded core line has always carried a certain mystique because it was purpose-built for officers who needed a handgun round that would chew through hard barriers and still hold together. The bonded jacket stops the lead from shearing off when the bullet hits autoglass or sheetrock, the same way the FBI wanted SS-109. That's the same projectile used in M855 green tip ammo to hold up in the 80s. Gel tests regularly show Gold Dot punching well past the FBI's 12-inch minimum, often kissing the 18-inch ceiling while blooming to roughly half an inch and keeping its weight. That kind of consistency gives concealed carry folks confidence. But it also checks every warning box the ATF built into its 2015 Sporting Purpose Framework. Under that document, anything that performs in a handgun and can slip through intermediate barriers without coming apart looks an awful lot like duty or military stock. And the agency has already said barrier performance is a law enforcement concern, not a sporting one. A second problem is sheer reach. Gold Dot lives in almost every common handgun chambering: 9mm, 38 Special Plus P, 45 ACP, 10mm Auto, and it even shows up in rifle boxes marked 223, 300 Blackout, and 308. The ATF's own language says it no longer cares about the maker's intent. It only cares that a cartridge may be used in a handgun. If a bonded rifle soft point shares the same bullet construction as the pistol load sitting in your nightstand Glock, regulators can lump the entire family together. We watched the exact playbook in 2015 when the agency moved to yank the sporting exemption from green tip ammo because AR pattern pistols suddenly existed, even though the round had been legal for 30 years. The public roar froze that grab in its tracks, but the framework never went away. It just sits there, ready for the next reinterpretation. Gold Dot's multi-platform popularity means it provides the agency a bigger media splash if it wants to make an example of overpowered police ammunition in civilian hands. Federal's Hydra-Shok tells a different history lesson, yet ends on the same worry. The round was conceived after the 1986 Miami gunfight, when the Bureau demanded a hollow point that would still yaw and expand through thick clothing. Tom Bertzinski's solution was a center post inside the cavity that hydraulically slams fluid against the jacket walls, forcing pedals open, even at lower velocities. Federal re-engineered it for the Bureau's new protocol in the late 80s, and the design became the reference point for the entire hollow point market. To the ATF, though, that pedigree means the projectile was literally invented at the FBI's request. The 2015 framework says projectiles that start life as law enforcement solutions invite stricter scrutiny, especially when they show up in pocket pistol calibers the average felon can conceal. Hydra-Shok boxes sit on shelves labeled 32 ACP, 380 9mm, 40, 45, 38 Special, 327 Federal, 357 Magnum, and even 44 Magnum, virtually every wheel gun or semi-auto a criminal might snatch. Under the may be used in a handgun standard, that swath already satisfies the first prong of the armor-piercing test. The only remaining question is composition. Should a future lead-free variant swap to copper or brass to meet laws in states phasing out lead, It lands squarely inside the metals list the Law Enforcement Officers Protection Act, LEOPA, targets. Suddenly, the historic FBI round could be recast as an armor-piercing threat, despite never once penetrating a duty vest in real-world shootings. We know the leap is possible because it already happened with 7N6. In 2016, a Seattle federal court sided with the ATF after the agency blocked importation of 100 million Russian 545 by 39 cartridges. The company argued the steel core ammo had never harmed an officer, yet the judge ruled potential mattered more than history. Since an American handgun could chamber it, the ban stood. That ruling gave the framework teeth. If a steel core surplus round with a decades-long clean record can vanish overnight, nothing prevents the same reasoning from landing on a bonded or center post bullet the moment a non-lead version shows up. Hornady's Critical Defense FTX looks safer on paper because it uses a soft polymer plug, not steel. But that plug is actually the weak link. The flex tip keeps cloth out of the cavity and guarantees expansion in short-barrel guns. That's why folks trust it for apartment defense, where over-penetration is a nightmare. The problem is optics. A bright red nose is a 5-second soundbite for anyone seeking a prop during a press conference. Add the fact that FTX pills sit in lever gun classics like 30-30 and in pocket pistols alike, and you have a round that touches every demographic, from deer hunters to suburban moms. That cross-platform footprint is exactly what the senators warned about when they scolded ATF Director Todd Jones in March 2015. They argued that cutting off one versatile round harms millions of ordinary shooters who rely on the ready availability of ammunition, and that restricting bullets chills the core of the Second Amendment as surely as restricting guns. Those senators also pointed to a second pincer. Environmental groups keep suing to outlaw lead projectiles, forcing companies toward copper or gilding metal cores. The ATF framework keys on exotic metals. Push manufacturers away from lead, and federal regulators suddenly gain jurisdiction over rounds that used to be exempt. That means critical defense loads destined for California hog hunts or condor areas could swap to copper one year and find themselves under federal review the next. The framework even reserves discretion to deny any exemption if the agency feels substantial evidence shows the ammunition is not primarily sporting. Language so broad it could swallow every defensive hollow point in the catalog. Some of you might ask whether any of this matters when no one in authority has whispered about banning Gold Dot, Hydra-Shok, or FTX. My answer is always the same. Neither did anyone hint at braces until the ATF reimagined a decade of approvals, nor did anyone flag forced reset triggers until the letters went out. Reinterpretation is the agency's favorite tool because it avoids the slog of legislation. It cites officer safety concerns, references an internal framework, and posts the new reading in the Federal Register. The only real defense is public outcry and congressional pressure, and even that merely pauses the machine. The M855 debacle stopped because millions of gun owners wrote in before the comment window closed, and because 53 senators said the move trampled legislative intent. The framework that enabled the move is still alive, just waiting for a quieter moment. Gold Dot's bonded jacket, Hydra-Shok's center post, and FTX's polymer tip each exist for one reason: to save innocent lives by working when ordinary bullets fail. None of these rounds slip through Kevlar the way true penetrators do. None are built entirely from tungsten or brass. All three rely on controlled expansion, not hard metal, to do their job. Yet the LEOPA statute doesn't require hard metal. It only requires that a projectile may be used in a handgun and either contain certain alloys or have a jacket that exceeds 25% of total weight. If agencies or legislators decide that bonded copper counts as a listed alloy, the paperwork is already drafted. The precedent says intent is irrelevant, and sporting purpose means single-shot pistols at best. Every modern semi-auto fails that test by design. Remember, too, that the framework admits it weighs likely use in the general community. Political activists spend serious money painting defensive hollow points as police killer bullets, even though data show body armor defeats them. The more a round is marketed for personal protection, the easier it becomes to argue its likely use is not sporting. Gold Dot advertising touts barrier performance. Hydra-Shok literature brags about rapid expansion through cloth. Hornady's own webpage calls Critical Defense an everyday carry all-star. These blurbs are honest, but they hand opponents the narrative pre-written. Ammo pundits might ask why the ATF would pick a fight with ammunition that lacks exotic cores. The answer lies in incrementalism. The 2015 proposal framed the sporting exemption rewrite as a first step toward officer safety. Groups like Giffords, Brady, and Everytown still lobby for the framework's full implementation. Regulators start with rifle rounds and steel tips because those are easy to demonize. When resistance wanes, they move to the next tier: bonded, high-penetration handgun loads that serve both police and civilians. Gold Dot checks that box. From there, it's a short shuffle to anything with a non-lead core or a recognizably aggressive brand name. Hydra-Shok and Critical Defense fit nicely. By the time the dust settles, hunters and home defense owners alike are stuck with soft-point throwbacks that clog on denim and splash on windshields. The Seattle court's language makes the danger plain. The judge admitted 7N6 had not killed a single officer, yet still upheld the ban because the round could fracture armor and could be chambered in a handgun. The ruling cemented potential harm, not demonstrated misuse, as sufficient grounds. Once that standard exists, any projectile that excels in short barrels or carries enough sectional density to reach vital organs risks being labeled armor-piercing in effect. Hydra-Shok Deep, the newer variant with extra penetration to meet updated FBI protocol, might sail straight into that storm. Some folks think the Senate letter means Congress has our back. Maybe, but that was 8 sessions ago, and nobody repealed the framework. Lawmakers cycle, political winds shift, and every new tragedy invites a fresh call to do something about the bullets police can't stop. When that cry flares again, regulators will not target a niche boutique round. They will swing at the big names everyone recognizes, because public ignorance magnifies fear. Gold Dot, Hydra-Shok, and Critical Defense headline every best defensive ammo list on the internet. For a bureaucracy hungry to show action, those names draw the cameras. That's why I keep extra carry ammo now. Not because I expect a zombie apocalypse, but because I don't expect federal consistency. Friends who rely on these rounds should consider the same kind of insurance. Keep receipts, stay vocal, and when the comment period opens on the next interpretation, flood it like we did in 2015. The ATF counts on apathy and short memories. Remind them we remember. Remind them that the Second Amendment protects bullets as surely as it protects barrels, and that we have the voices and the votes to defend both. And there you have it. 3 self-defense loads that could be next on the ATF's chopping block, not because they've changed, but because the rules might. Gold Dot, Hydra-Shok, and Critical Defense are lifesavers for millions of responsible Americans. But in the eyes of the feds, that popularity makes them dangerous. Which of these do you rely on? And how much have you already stockpiled? Drop your preferred carry load or your go-to ammo brand in the comments below. And don't forget to hit like, share this with your 2A circle, subscribe, and ring the bell so you're ready when it hits the fan.